There's a place that's open up until like 1.
Okay, hi. I'm very bad at public speaking, so just to introduce who we are Film Diary NYC. We are the ones who put on this event. And hold on, I made notes. Just so everybody knows, you can follow us on Instagram at Film Diary NYC. We're doing some more events coming up in June. We have an opening on June 18th. And for those of you who missed the first Nelson screening, basically the first one was just introducing Nelson's filmmaking and his life and things like that. And we got requests for Nightlife, so thank you all for selling this event out, by the way. And thank you to Elias for helping us with Spectacle. And thank you to Robert Coddington for allowing us to screen Nelson's work. And a big thank you to our panelists who are about to come on, Flloyd, DJ Tennessee, and Michael Musto. And yeah, feel free to ask them whatever.
Does that mean come up now?
Yes, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Michael Musto. This is Flloyd. And Tennessee's in the bathroom.
Oh.
I love seeing Lady Hennessy Brown. Let's start at the beginning. She was the woman who kind of squirted milk like you. I think we could really use her now with the baby formula shortage. And I used to joke that people could hold out their Kahlua to get a free White Russian.
When she performed at the Pyramid, you know, she pulled ribbon out of her vagina, and she was on stage, and the ribbon, to get it all the way out, the person went out into the street. They had to leave the club to get to the end of, I mean, the Pyramid's not that big of a club. Still, it went all the way to the street.
Wow.
I mean, every night was this incredible experience of these performers and drag queens, and it was all subversive then. There was no drag race.
Right.
There was no anything. There was no internet.
There was drag before Drag Race?
Yeah. And it was edgy. I mean, these people really living, you know, we were all like dancing on the edge of the volcano.
You might have recognized me. I was picking my nose.
You were fantastic.
I picked it twice.
You were great.
Did anybody happen to notice, like, at the low ball, how the police were just looking at us like we were just filth, like they could have shot every one of us if they could have gotten away with it, man. And people were just, it was just such a different time, man.
I love the outlaw party and the fast food place.
Yeah.
Michael Alec threw that, and he was carrying on a tradition of people doing it. Vito Bruno had done them. There used to be outlaw parties like on sanitation piers, in the subway, places you're not supposed to have a party.
We went to I was actually the one that cut through the fence at the Pitt Street pool where we had and we were there for like 30 seconds before the police came.
Well, we were all told to get there on time because the cops were inevitably going to bust it. But the one at the fast food place, people loved it. Like, if you notice that the customers, they didn't even care. New Yorkers are so jaded. They're like, oh, 10,000 club kids just walked in, whatever. Hey, where are my pickles? And we lived on the edge, let's face it. And it was a rough time because people were dying of AIDS. Like, AIDS was...
There were a lot of people in there. It was like, well, first of all, but yeah, it was interesting to see like all of the people that were dead, you know, like Crisis and David Spada. But I mean, it was
Ethel,
great.
yeah.
And Ethel Eichelberger. Yeah. It was Ethel heavy. But I mean, like, not only that.
Crisis was a transgender, fabulous star.
Friends with Salvador Dali.
She was a muse of Dali, and she ended up dying because of the hormones involved in transitioning. Yeah. It was different back then.
And her breasts were like wax or something.
Silicone.
They were very hard.
Yeah.
They were firm.
Well, you know, it's funny.
She had them done in the early '60s.
Crisis thing. She would, because they at the 8th Street Playhouse, they would still show the Rocky Horror Picture Show every Friday, Saturday night. Crisis would go there and pick up young guys, and Robert Downey Jr. was one of them. He even talked about it.
He does talk about it.
in like a tabloid. He said, "Oh, you know, when I was young, I had kind of a Lola, the Kinks type thing, where I had an older, you know, transgender person kind of, you know, show me the ropes a little bit." He even admitted it. Yeah.
And it didn't end like the crying game. He did not vomit.
No.
He loved it. Crisis was so gorgeous. And the great thing about Nelson is he was there. He was a fly on the wall. He was a little bit shy. He was a Southern gentleman. I helped him along. I invited him to everything I went to, including nightclubs, my parents' house in Brooklyn for holidays, gigs that my band did. And then he became indoctrinated, and everyone wanted him. And if you notice, he captured the minutia. It was kind of like me and him in a cab going like, ugh, I don't want to go to this, you know, which is just kind of an offhand moment, but then it's me spinning around and performing for him. And the reason we felt comfortable, I said this last time, there was no internet, no YouTube. He didn't even have screenings of his videos. The next day he would give certain people a VHS tape of the previous night. I have a collection that even Robert Coddington doesn't have.
And I said this before last time too, but it's hard to imagine how he had to indoctrinate people to get them to act normal in front of a camera. If you can imagine RuPaul not hamming it up, or Lady Bunny not hamming it up for the camera, because if you would ham it up, he would look away. So he sort of had to train us. He groomed us to act normal. If you didn't act normal, he wasn't going to film it. Like it was amazing for him to film the whole Lady Hennessy show. I mean, it was fucking amazing. But a lot of times, like, we used to complain, like, Nelson came tonight. He filmed in the dressing room, but he didn't film the show. You know what I mean? Like, I used to say, he'll film you, like, if you tell the joke, he'll turn it off before the punchline. And I would be like, what a fucking idiot! I mean, come on, like, what's he doing? You know. But now, of course,
But we
we can see what he's doing.
We felt unself-conscious for his camera because we thought no one's going to see this.
Yeah.
And then years later, people are saying, "Oh, I love you" in Nelson's videos. I'm like, "What?" And then I find out they're all on YouTube. It's funny. And he really was the only one capturing that scene because there were no cell phones. You couldn't walk into a club with a clunky camera. He could because he had the access. Everyone loved him. Hello.
Time to leave.
But and the Love Ball was the scene of the kind of big voguing ball. Suzanne Barsh is a promoter, and she did 2 of those. There were huge benefits for AIDS. She mobilized the entire fashion industry and the downtown crowd. And I had the House of Dish, where we each came out and did gossip items, and the DJ Johnny Donnell pumped up the music. So I have Cindy Adams screaming some gossip item. But that was the genius of it.
But there were lots of people, like, I just, you know, I kept wanting to go, shout out the names. Because, I mean, Zaldi's in there, and then Kurt and Bard are in there, and they're all famous, you know, they're famous costume people now. And it's just,
Some of the names were like Candyman. You did not want to say them for the fear somebody would say them 3 times.
oh, Lady Jim.
That's once. Careful.
No, she, that guy in the Burger King who says, I want a Whopper and some fries. That guy faked his own suicide. Like, he's wanted. He's dead.
Well, and speaking of suicide, Ethel Eichelberger that you saw playing the accordion, she's in the Doors movie with Val Kilmer at a party scene. You can see her in that. It's one of the last things she did. And she got really sick there towards the end of her life, and she ran a bathtub full of water and slit her wrists, unfortunately.
She was from Theater of the Absurd with Charles.
So right, she had probably been with like Jane County with the Andy Warhol crowd and had been.
She was more Charles Ludlam and Everett Quinton.
Yes,
Theater of the Absurd off-Broadway crowd. Does
And
anyone have questions? Because we want.
Yes, I'm sorry. Yes, go ahead.
You.
Yes, this question is for each of you. How did you meet Nelson?
Oh, I met him through mutual friends. I had a band called Michael Musto and the Must, which was based on Diana Ross and the Supremes. I was a white male gay version of Diana, sort of like Michael Jackson. Too soon. But Brant Newborn, who was my editor at After Dark, which was a gay magazine that didn't say it was gay. It's a different time. He knew Nelson from down south, and he introduced me, and we became fast friends immediately.
I lived in Atlanta with Lady Bunny and RuPaul, and we were groupies to this band, the Now Explosion, which was, you saw them there, but it's Larry T. and Lahoma and Russ and Eloise and Lady Claire. And Lady Bunny took Lady from Lady Claire, and Lady Miss Keir took Lady from Lady Bunny, and Lady Gaga took Lady from Lady Miss Keir. So Lady Claire is the original lady.
It's like it's like Fleetwood Mac.
But they were all friends with Dick Richards, and Dick Richards and Nelson were best friends. So when we came to New York with the Now Explosion, we just, Nelson was part of it. Came with the package.
Nelson came into 103, this diner where I worked at 6th Street and 2nd Avenue quite often. And, you know, and then it was so weird because I had just made the transition from being a waiter to being a go-go dancer to finally being a DJ. And one of the first big nights that I had there at Mars, RuPaul had kind of quit show business for a while and went back to Mean Miss Charles' house in San Diego and completely left and quit doing everything and grew a beard and gained 30 pounds. And he was just like, I don't think I can do this anymore. And everybody's like, and Larry T's like, look, if you come back to New York, I'll pay for your ticket. Just don't give up. Keep going. And so, and I'm so like, well, how is this?
85?
No, that was like 89.
Oh.
It was about 89, yeah. About 89, yes, 89. And I kept thinking, well, who's this? And I remember being in Atlanta and seeing, you know, these posters. This summer, RuPaul is red hot, you know, and it was everywhere. And so Ru came and I met Ru, and then we went back to Nelson's house. And like I said, if you watch those videos, sometimes you'd think, well, he's just recording these so we can all watch them when we get back to Nelson's house that night. And we weren't quite sure what we were going to do with them. Like you said before, you just like, nobody's going to see this other than, you know, us sitting around the couch getting stoned or whatever. And how about Sister Dimension's poodle going around and around?
Yeah.
I just sit on that couch at Sister's house, get stoned, and watch that poodle go around and around.
Truffles.
Truffle, yeah.
Truffles.
Truffle.
That's the dog's name.
Any more questions? Yes.
I was wondering if you guys could speak about what Nelson shared with you about his plans. Shortly before he died, I know he quit his job and was going to plan to start his own public access show. The reason I ask that is because on YouTube, there are hundreds and hundreds of people that watch his last video from July 4th, 1989 and read into something that he says where he says, I won't have a lot of time left. And I understand people want to romanticize that and bring order to it because it's very sad that he's gone. And, you know, I don't think that's the truth. I don't think he's giving omens in the video that he's about to die that night. And I wondered if you guys could speak about that, because I've read that that was his plan. He quit his job because he's going full speed
true.
ahead with his thing. And
He had a very straight-laced job at a Fifth Avenue music shop, like a classical music place. And he was tired of it. He was tired of the button-down lifestyle. He was having so much fun every night. And he literally had quit right when he died. He was about to start his own public access show. Public access was like Channel 35, where you could lease an hour a week, like the Robin Bird show and stuff like that.
It was free.
Well, there's leased access and there's public access. They're
Oh.
two different, but
Right.
the leased access, whichever it was, it wouldn't have been a lot of money, but he was all prepared to have his own weekly show and show his footage. It would have been fantastic for him. I think people are reading too much into that video.
Yeah.
He didn't think, you know, the clock was ticking or anything like that. When he died, it was shocking. He was still in his 40s, and I think it was bad drugs that he did.
I was waiting for maybe this. For me, recently, Dick Richards' partner David Goldman wrote the greatest story about Nelson's life. And I didn't know this myself. When Nelson was a young man, he was out in South Carolina just wandering around there and fell into a gold mine. Into a deep, deep gold mine and messed up his leg really bad. I think that's what kept him out of Vietnam. And he had a near-death experience. He almost died. And I know that when people are from experience, when you have a near-death experience, you kind of think, okay, I got to hurry up here. We got to move. So I think maybe that's what it was.
yeah.
And interestingly enough, like one of the last times I talked to Nelson, he said, hey, you and Xavier were smoking that weed with me the other night. Did that make you sick? And I'm like, no. He said, I'm going to take that weed back and get the money. He said, that made me sick. It made my heart flutter like crazy. I'm like, weed, Nelson? Really? Weed? He's like, yeah. And that's one of the last times I saw him.
Yeah.
I don't really know anything about Nelson's aspect. I was hitchhiking around Europe at that point. Yeah, I was actually got a call from my friend Stephen Stubbs in Atlanta. And he said, did you know that guy Nelson? And I said, what do you mean did?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You know, I found out like that. I was in Europe, so.
Sorry. Still
And
very down.
Nelson always had an element of always joking, but he was serious, that he wasn't appreciated. Every joke has some reality to it, and he would always hours and hours on the phone. And he was taping my phone conversations without telling me.
I have them.
Did I say anything too bad?
We'll talk about it later.
Anyway, his whole shtick was I'm not appreciated. I wasn't invited. I couldn't get into the VIP room. You know, but like I say, behind every shtick is reality. I wish he had stayed alive to see the way he is so appreciated now. His work is a treasure trove of that era, the last great nightlife era for New York.
It's like
Well, I mean,
Halloween
other than
romance.
Nelson, who is there? I don't think there is any archivist that got as close to the flame as he did. I can't think of any. If they are, I don't know anybody. I know of it.
There was a guy named Tom Rubnitz, but he was doing more scripted stuff with them magazine.
Yeah, we lost
Yeah,
Tom
yeah.
really early on too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But for me, I figured out a long time ago that the most important person in the audience is the camera. And so, because I would do these amazing shows, and then the next day I'd go, "Did you see that?" I don't know. I was downstairs. You know what I mean? I was like, so when we were working at the tunnel, they would give us $1,000 to do a party. So I always put Nelson in the budget. So luckily, a lot of what I did at the tunnel is filmed by Nelson, because I appreciated Nelson and I understood. For me, it was vanity. It was my ego. I was like, I want to see this. You know what I mean? Like, the most important person in the audience is the camera, because it's going to live forever. So I always tried to work Nelson into the budget of tunnel
Thank you.
shows. I mean,
Thank you.
other clubs didn't pay you $1,000 to have a club.
And we were all kind of united in silliness. Like, I had all these running jokes with this guy Albert that you see in a lot of Nelson videos.
He had the big cock.
Can I ask another question? What's the coffee thing when you guys are in the pizza place? You're doing that voice? Like
We had been at a party where some woman had did this whole monologue about how she had cream and 2 sugars. And
Yeah.
we immediately absorbed that, and it became a shtick. And
Thank you.
we would just robotically
Oh my
repeat
God!
these
And,
jokes, these
and,
in
and
jokes.
the street lady, that little lady that has an
Oh,
Edith
yeah.
Bunker voice.
Hello, my darling!
She's great.
Vera, she was always out in front of the pyramid. God, she was so wonderful.
She should have been on stage at the pyramid.
She really should, yeah. I just want to say also about Nelson's death. RuPaul and Larry T and Lahoma were getting ready to launch The Love Machine. And at the Underground there on 17th and Broadway, where they filmed Liquid Sky, it's a Petco now.
Which
But-
was the old Warhol factory.
Yes, and it was Andy's offices were upstairs there,
Right.
for the interview magazine. And so right on July 4th, as you've got to razzle dazzle for a big party that everybody's been so hyped and excited about, your best friend's dead, and he owns the house where he has his name's on the door where you live, that 3-floor house. They were able to stay there, thankfully, and keep that going. And I just want to say, all of the years that I filmed, Wigstock and shows and Palladium and Limelight, Nelson was the one that really inspired me. Was one of the big inspirations for me. It was just like, okay, somebody's got to keep doing this now that Nelson's gone. I mean, and my archive's going to drop soon, so I'm excited about that.
Excited too.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, no, I
This kind of has nothing to do with anything, but I just have to say it, and that is that there was an apartment underneath Nelson's house, and now the door to that apartment is gone. I don't know if they've incorporated it, but somebody lived under there, and he was a fucking asshole. He was constantly complaining and taking a broom handle. So for years and years, when I first met Nelson, he didn't use the bottom floor.
Yeah, in the basement.
He would be like, when you would come in, he'd be like,
basement.
and then he would go upstairs.
Tiptoe,
It
yeah.
wasn't a basement, the guy lived in the basement. But like for years and years, eventually, I guess Lahoma and Rue convinced him to let him live there, but he was known as the troll. And like, Nelson had this 3-story house, and he didn't ever, the first floor was basically like storage. Like, it was like, can you imagine?
Rue and
Like,
I would have to tiptoe around in there, and I think he was a Vietnam veteran. He was completely crazy, and he was so angry that we were all having fun and having a good time and everything. And he would take a wrench and tap on the heater pipe for days, like 24/7. I remember one time it went for 72 hours, and Rue was the only person that could really talk any sense into him and saying, why don't you calm down a little bit? Maybe you should take a walk.
But he did inspire the famous horror film, The Troll in the Basement. One thing I love
And
about
when they sold, and when Larry Lahoma left that place, I think a SWAT team had to get that guy out of the basement.
Wow.
He was not gonna leave, man. It was really crazy.
Wow.
And Rue would be like, tiptoe easy here while we're downstairs. In the first floor, you'd literally have to take your shoes off and tiptoe, because if he heard anything, ping, 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 it would start.
well, I can't imagine how Rue convinced Nelson to let him live there, because Nelson was like,
I just think that guy was a squatter, and he was afraid to try to get him out, and he just let him stay there. New York had that craziness. Could you guys feel the vibe from those videos? You could totally feel the vibe of just how
Yeah.
crazy and just like, you know, it was just like Thunderdome. You were waiting for Tina Turner to come around the corner, you know? Congratulations. You're the first to survive the audition.
Negative man.
I like that Nelson was never starstruck. He didn't care. You know, to him, you know, Sister Dimension was a star. Ethel Hackelberg was a star. When he's talking to Lady Miss Keir, she's usually famous at that point.
Right.
And she's just another person, and the celebrities.
She's bubbling under. She's almost
She's
there,
about to break. Yeah.
They were about to go.
And the stars didn't turn away from Nelson. Nowadays, they're much more guarded, I think.
I was surprised to see like the upper crust. I don't remember like Steven Sabin and some of those other people actually being at the McDonald's. Like I don't remember.
Oh, sure.
that. But, yeah.
Stephen was the
And
columnist for
Frank
Details.
Rocchio, and you know.
Did you guys do the train spotting at the Love Ball? Because I saw Lauren Hutton, Steve Rubel.
I didn't see that.
Fran Lebowitz.
Yeah. Fran Lebowitz. There's more people there in the audience. Caroline Herrera. I'm trying to think. I don't think heavyset black man fashion.
Leontella.
Yes, Andre Leontella. Yes. Sorry, I got COVID brain here. Sorry. Yeah, I mean, it was amazing that Suzanne was able to get that. You know, all of that firepower, the Madison Avenue, the fashion people to mingle and mix with downtown, and that's missing now.
Yeah.
That's missing. Or you go into a club and it's a bunch of investment bankers staring at their phone, you know,
Everyone's staring at their phone.
Right.
I don't want to be too fatalistic because I'm the one who's always like, it's over, it's over. It's actually pretty good. There's a lot of stuff here in this neighborhood.
Yeah.
Bushman.
It's not that it's over, it's just a different.
And I really think
it's a
like
different
House
scene.
of Yes is
We're
a place
all-
where
Yeah.
House of Yes,
you would see a lady Hennessy Brown. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah.
It's still there. It's
But
just
they have Narcissa's sister.
It's different.
They don't have Laney's Hennessy, but they have Narcissa's sister.
exactly. Any other questions?
Albert Crudo, do you guys still see him?
No, he went
Thankfully, no.
crazy.
Sorry.
He went crazy on me.
Went.
I'm being kind.
Yeah. Okay.
I have a Lauren Hutton story.
Please.
I was helping my friends move and we were in a van and we're like super gay, you know? And then my coffee, and so I'm driving the car and Lauren Hutton's hailing a cab and I'm like, we can give Lauren Hutton a ride, not thinking we're three men in a van, you know? And I rolled down the window. I was like, hey Lauren, you need a ride? And she's like, keep it moving, fellas.
Well, one of the outlaw parties was a disco truck that Kiyoki did, Michael Alex's boyfriend. We talked about it last time. It's in the movie Party Monster. There was no air. We were trapped in the back and you couldn't like reach, you couldn't get in touch with the drivers, which was not Christina, unlike in the movie.
There was a lot of Christina here tonight.
Yes.
I mean, you were in the back.
Did
There was a
Nelson
lot of Christina.
come to Lotto? Nelson was still alive. I think Nelson might have came to Lotto. Lotto
You
was.
don't you have a video of Lotto?
I think that's you. Lotto was an after-hours party that Michael Alec held in a poultry factory.
No,
Rented
okay.
a whole
Nelson
floor
wasn't
and
there.
office.
I can explain that.
Okay.
It was after Nelson was dead because I remember I was helping Michael Alec decorate, and at one point, this might not be a good story. At one point, Michael Alec had this box of stuff, and I'm always trying to figure out. I was decorating. I also designed Mars, but I was decorating, and I was like, how do I incorporate a job into this? So I said to Michael, I said, how about if I build this spider web up here in these pipes, and then I can hide up there at night and scare people. So it's like I'm trying to get a job out of trying to incorporate myself into the decor. And there was this box of clothes, and I was tying the clothes into this web, and the clothes started to look familiar. And I realized it was a box of Nelson's stuff that they had that he had gotten from Larry T. And I found a ring in the bottom with an N on it. But I kept a bunch of the clothes. I like other people's clothes. So I kept some of it, but it was like this box of Nelson's clothes that had been donated, or it didn't sell at the yard sale. But that was definitely
Yeah,
At
that was after
Lotto-
he had died. My brain is fried.
I had to do the math, but yeah. So at Lotto, Nelson was already dead.
But Lotto was like an episode, of Batman '66 in an abandoned warehouse in Gotham City.
It was up on the High Line. It was on Little West 12th Street, and you had to climb a fence and go into this place. And we never were quite sure. Did you ever go to Lotto?
Yes.
And we were never quite sure if Michael Alig was actually renting it, or if we had permission to be there. Are we just sneaking in there? Like, what is this? Is the police are we, what's going on?
And this was around the time of the Happy Land Social Club fire. I don't know if you guys know about that. There was this hideous fire in the Bronx where Like, it was one of the worst fires in New York State, like a jealous
It was
boyfriend.
Kathleen Turner's husband. It
Yeah.
was.
Jay Weiss, Kathleen Turner's husband, owned this place, and it was a jealous boyfriend type thing, and it was a Latino social club, and the guy came in there and poured gas on the front door, and the door was like a pull open door and not a push out door, and all these people got trapped and it was like, I think maybe 90 people died. So then the fire department in New York City came out and really started shining a flashlight up everyone's ass and making sure they had all the, and Lotto got busted that night.
And there were all those, that's when they started trying to enforce cabaret laws.
That was Giuliani. That was, but they were, it was bubbling. But I remember, and the fire department came in, and so Steve Lewis and Michael Alec took everybody upstairs into one of the freezers of the poultry room, and like there was like 100 people hiding in this massive poultry freezer. And the fire department opened the door, and everybody went, surprise!
In the backstage.
New York's not fun like that, man. I mean, it's still fun, and it's not over, but it's just not fun in that way. You
And
know?
I got paid every night to do stuff like that.
Fire exits, this isn't random, but like, behind the stage at the Pyramid, there was a big door that led to the backyard, and we used to go out there and smoke and stuff, and they would be quiet, and like, they didn't want you to go out there, and they had a mattress in front of it, they didn't want you to go out there. Later, in the early 90s, I was there doing Black Lips with Anoni and Kabuki and a bunch of other people, and I said to them, hey kids, you know what I mean, there's a secret door here, we can go to the back door, and I moved the curtain, and it was cinder blocks.
Wow.
They had cinder blocked up the back door. I was like, this isn't good.
Yes.
Oh well, I just thought I'd throw that out there.
Let's do like 2 more questions.
Okay, Sonia.
I just have a comment. I mean, if he was alive today, would he be influence he has on people? And I was curious why he used a fish. Do you know why he used a fish?
He, in the last season, in the last series, the one they did where he was at home, they showed a video of him at Christina's house, and he explained it, which I had never seen before, because for me, I was like, Christina.
Yeah.
But you know, but it was actually quite fascinating. But he talked about how the fisheye lens gives you more information than like your eye would naturally get, and so you're getting all of this you're getting more information than you know you would normally get, and more information than you deserve. But your brain can still process it. And did you get more out of what he said last time?
I don't
He
know.
said he was inspired by Stanley Kubrick.
He said he was inspired by Hal.
How?
From
Yes,
2001, yeah. But he
Human
did talk about it
Artificial
giving,
Life, yeah.
he
Human
talked about it giving more information than your eye would normally get, you know.
Who wants to ask the final question?
Wait, can I have a part? Can I introduce a part?
Sure, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Go for
He
it.
just captured the regularness of life. Like he just captured it like you said, so perfectly. Like he didn't catch the show. I just think to me, he's the little boy stacking plastic.
Was that Sean Lennon? No.
I kind of thought it was a Lennon, but no.
No. But there was a Japanese man that Keith Haring was doing paintings with, and I think that was his son. I think that was, for a second I thought, that's not Sean Lennon.
He would have been too young to have been Sean.
Yeah,
Lennon.
83 would have been too young, yeah.
It was funny because when the Keith Haring came on, I was like, oh, this is a little slow. But like in between the McDonald's and the Pyramid, it was like, I'm just gonna take a breath, right?
Well, the Keith Haring segment, because I saw like Victor Rosado and a lot of other DJs and a lot of people from the Lower East Side, from The Choice there. There was a club called The Choice that was...
That's why we're all going after McDonald's.
Yeah, exactly. It was on 3rd and B&C, and before that it had been The Loft with David Mancuso, which was like one of the most influential discos in the world. It's a fucking square box building now, so if you wonder why
It
the
was
French
always
laugh
where
at
are we
us.
going
Yeah.
next, if you notice, because nobody wanted to go home.
Yeah.
I was out till 4:30 every night. I didn't even do the after hours parties, which started at 4:30. There are clubs like Continental, AM, PM, etc. That's for the super drug addicts.
Right. And Paddles is still open.
Yeah.
Paddles is,
DK?
yes.
That's Zone DK, yeah.
Paddles is still open.
Yeah.
As far as I know, they probably still have that wheel.
Yeah.
We'll look forward to
There's a really funny movie starring Lahoma and RuPaul and Larity and all those people called Police Lady.
Xavier's tied to the wheel. Yeah, my partner was tied to the wheel. Yeah.
And
it's like when the Riddler tied Robin to that electrical thing and spun him around and around. Yeah, it was like, you know, they would blindfold you. I guess it was a sex thing. Yeah.
it's a sex club. That was a Paddles.
You need Vanna White. Let's go, come on, somebody. Something about Nelson or some of the crazy parties.
Come on.
I'm from South Carolina, and Nelson, his brother Mark was my uncle. I actually, the gold mine is now.
Wow, y'all give him a round of applause.
But actually, this is my friend. She's in town from South Carolina and near
Welcome to-
Columbia.
welcome to
So,
Brooklyn.
but I just wanted to, just as a personal note, just thank you for everything you've done. It's been really great for my family, especially my Aunt Beverly. I don't know if you knew her or Mark was his brother, but it's really just meant the world to us.
Well, I've said this before, but when they were having the yard sale, I bought a box of cassette tapes, and I have conversations of Nelson talking to his aunt and talking to his brother.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I just buried my aunt last year. They're all in the same plot together, the Coleman plot in Kershaw. So I've been spending a lot of time in Kershaw last year.
Aunt Nancy?
And Nancy, yeah.
Oh, maybe that's who the phone.
I remember meeting Aunt Nancy when I was very young. I
She
was
loved
like
her
12.
nutty buddies. You want to know the nutty buddies?
Aunt Nancy had a lobotomy.
Well, she also had a nutty buddy.
Yeah, so that was my first introduction to psychiatric care of the 1960s and 70s.
Well, we have done nothing. It's been our pleasure to celebrate Nelson over and over again. I'd love to do this a million times more. Thank you all for coming.
You guys want to go to McDonald's in Times Square with all of us?
Choice. It's not there anymore.
It's closed.